Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 6.
They're nearing the finish line of a long U.S. Senate campaign. What Senator Mitch McConnell and Allison Lundergan Grimes told their supporters on this election eve.
A Garrett County middle school basketball coach is on home incarceration for a crime he's accused of committing with an underage girl in South Carolina.
Fallen but not forgotten. How a UK fan injured in the stands of Rupp Arena during a game is receiving a lot of support from the Big Blue Nation. WKYT News at 6 starts now.
We begin tonight with a breaking news alert out of Scott County. Good evening. Right now, firefighters are on the scene of a large fire at a business in Georgetown.
Yeah, and witnesses report seeing smoke for miles. That fire broke out within the last hour at A&Z Towing on Industry Road. That is not far from exit 129 off Interstate 75. This is some eyewitness video from the scene. Witnesses also reported hearing some small explosions inside the building. We have a crew heading to that scene, and we will pass along more information as we receive it, and also on WKYT.com as well. It has been a hard-fought and expensive campaign, and tomorrow it will be in the hands of Kentucky voters.
Today, incumbent Senator Mitch McConnell and his challenger Allison Lundergan Grimes went across the state to gather up some last-minute support in the race for the U.S. Senate. Both made many stops around the state to rally voters. WKYT's Phil Pendleton caught up with both candidates today. It's our top story at 6.
A loud, cheering crowd welcomed both of Kentucky's senators and dozens of supporters to Lexington's Bluegrass Airport. The crowd of young and old was told about a group in Washington that McConnell says needs to go.
This crowd has been bad for America. They've been particularly bad for Kentucky. And starting tomorrow night, we're going to stop them.
McConnell believes if he wins and other Republicans follow suit, he'll help pave the way for a Republican majority, which he says will be good for Kentucky.
There's only one senator that gets to set the agenda, and that's the majority leader in the Senate. You know who the current one is. He's the guy from Nevada who says coal makes you sick.
Allison Grimes started in Pikeville and flew to Somerset this morning. She told several dozen at the Lake Cumberland Airport that McConnell has been part of the problem and she'll help bring the solution.
He says we can't live without his seniority. Well, I don't know about you, but we rank at the bottom of every national indicator that's out there. After 30 years, are we better off having Mitch McConnell in Washington?
There's been a lot said about the money spent in this race. Grimes alleges McConnell's millions have funded lies, falsehoods, and misconceptions.
And the $53 million that Mitch McConnell has spent not just against me, but against all of us. He has no record to run on.
The two share many differences, but agree that they've done all they can do. Their future is now in the hands of Kentuckians. In Lexington, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Senator Mitch McConnell will hold his last event in Bowling Green before heading on to his home in Louisville tonight. Grimes' last event will be just after 8 o'clock tonight at the Fifth Third Pavilion in downtown Lexington.
The two men running for Lexington mayor also spent this election eve talking to supporters. Incumbent Mayor Jim Gray made campaign calls this morning, and his challenger Anthony Beatty made a radio appearance. Both Gray and Beatty told us they have big plans for Lexington if elected.
Have talked about in the campaign are three key goals: creating jobs, running government efficiently, and building a great American city. The touchstones for me have been getting things done.
To look at my record as police chief in terms of my leadership, integrity, my character, my ability to make Lexington a safe city, we put together an excellent team of people. We can take Lexington to the next level.
Both men plan to spend tomorrow campaigning up until the polls close at 6 tomorrow night. And stay with WKYT throughout the day tomorrow for complete Election Day coverage. We'll have the first returns as they come in after the polls close, and we'll have race results, analysis, and live speeches on an election special from 6:30 to 8 tomorrow night on the CW Lexington. You'll also find complete results on WKYT.com.
A man who coached middle school basketball has been arrested for a crime in another state. Christopher Evans coached at Garrett County Middle School, but school leaders say he resigned after his arrest. Police say he sent obscene text messages to an underage girl. WKYT's Sam Smith is tracking this investigation.
Christopher Evans was the head coach of the 8th grade boys basketball team at Garrett Middle School. He also worked with AmeriCorps, assisting teachers and students at the middle school. That work started in July, but it ended last week when he resigned. A warrant was issued for Evans on October 14th. He was arrested in Mount Vernon the next week. Evans was wanted by the Anderson County Sheriff's Office in South Carolina. He's accused of communicating with an underage girl from that area sometime between June and October of this year. Officials there say he sent obscene text messages to the girl and had the intent to perform a sexual activity with the victim. I'm told by officials with AmeriCorps and the school system that Evans caused zero problems while he was working here. Investigators have not released how he knows the victim or how he got her number. Evans offered no comment on his case. But with his charge of criminal solicitation of a minor, a felony in South Carolina, he's under house arrest while he waits to be extradited. The soonest that can happen is November 5th. In Garrett County, Sam Smith, WKYT.
Investigators with the Garrett County School District and AmeriCorps did a background check on Evans when he was hired. They say the background check came back clean.
We have some new information tonight about human remains found in a Lexington field last week. The Fayette County Coroner's Office says state investigators are still having a hard time identifying them. So later this week, the remains will be taken to the University of Tennessee so an anthropologist can examine them. The coroner says the remains are so decomposed there's no other way to identify the person. Someone found a man's remains last week in a field near Citation Boulevard. The coroner thinks they may have been in that field for up to 9 months.
A man arrested in connection to a Lexington murder faces some new charges tonight. Police added robbery and evidence tampering charges against Savon Thompson. He was already charged with complicity to commit murder. Lexington police say the victim, Jeffrey Adams, was shot in an apartment complex on McCullough Drive last month. Nathan Miller and a juvenile also face complicity charges in this case.
An elderly Madison County couple says a weather radio helped them during a home invasion. An 88-year-old Korean War veteran says 2 men forced their way inside his home on Crooksville Road last night and demanded money. He says he didn't have any, so he told his wife to give the robbers her rings. But around that time, the homeowner says his weather radio beeped because the battery was low. When the robbers asked what that sound was, the homeowner wouldn't tell them. He says they got nervous and left. Neighbors say this home invasion has them worried.
You think out here in the country, well, it's pretty safe, but you know, my 2 grandchildren and my daughter stay with me.
The couple wasn't seriously injured during that home invasion. Police have not made any arrest in this case. Well, after a chilly weekend, some milder air has moved into the bluegrass to start our work week. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has an early look now at your forecast.
Yeah, temperatures today, Amber, hitting the 60s into most of the region. We should be even warmer for your election day. And then we'll get to all that in a little bit. Let's talk about the good stuff first and foremost. Right now across Kentucky, those temperatures have dropped quickly into the mid to upper 50s with clear skies showing up into Georgetown, into Frankfort, Richmond, and Lexington. Some folks seeing a little bit of high cloud cover, but Live First Alert Defender says no worries, nothing showing up in the short term. It's a mild flow that'll take us through the rest of the overnight and into the day tomorrow. Those temperatures tomorrow, as I mentioned, will be several degrees warmer than where we are today. Where do we wind up this evening, though? Between now and 11 o'clock, those readings quickly tumble through the 50s. We'll wind up into the mid and upper 40s by the time we roll into 11 o'clock. And by that time, a little more in the way of some high cloud cover beginning to filter on in. But the focus of the forecast suggests you better enjoy tomorrow because it's a wintertime pattern that is taking shape over the next couple of weeks. I'll show you what I'm talking about and what I am tracking when I come back in about 10 minutes.
He is a UK fan you may remember, and you may find it hard to believe that 1 year later that Dickey Gregory is still a long way from home. Gregory fell from the stands at Rupp Arena right before the UK versus Transy exhibition game last fall. His wife of 52 years is still trying to get him home. New at 6, WKYT's Kristen Kennedy traveled to Louisville to talk to the couple.
I take the Snyder freeway to 65, meet up with 64, and then on in through the streets here in the neighborhood.
A year can change a couple in profound ways.
He has been in 4 different hospitals with 6 admissions to those hospitals. He's had 2 surgeries, different procedures.
Dickey Gregory's been through a physical nightmare. His wife, Mary Alice, an emotional one.
I never thought that I would cry every day of my life. I've just never been like that. I've never been a crier. But this has just been so hard to deal with.
She watched her husband fall backward down half a dozen rows at Rupp last year. The fall paralyzed Mr. Gregory from the neck down.
Our trying to accept what has happened and live with it has been hard because of the closeness of our lives. You know, we were such a close couple and did everything together.
Mrs. Gregory's hope is that she'll be able to move her husband from this nursing center to a handicap-accessible home. And in order to do that, she'll have to move too.
Our home is for sale right now. It has been for a while. The hurt is just, it's very devastating.
Like they say, it is what it is.
Mr. Gregory makes the most of every day he has.
There's one.
He battles spasms and fights to speak. When he can't go on, he thinks about the Big Blue Nation. Coach Cal has visited Gregory twice.
A lot of times, you just feel like giving up. But then you get to thinking about all these prayers and people's cards and stuff. And you feel like, well, I can't give up because they're all counting on me.
This man hasn't forgotten his fans. In Louisville, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the Gregorys, certainly. They say that Coach Cal visited them recently in Louisville while he was in town for a book signing.
It is that time of year again. The ice rink is going up at Triangle Park. Find out when you'll be able to skate.
Also coming up at 6, Taylor Swift announcing dates for her upcoming world tour, and she will be making 2 stops in Kentucky.
We have an update now on some breaking news that we told you about at the top of this newscast. Firefighters are still on the scene of a large fire at a business in Scott County. This is a live look at the scene. That fire broke out about 5 at A&Z Towing. That's on Industry Road.
That's near Interstate 75 and the Toyota plant. At one point, witnesses reported seeing smoke for miles. Earlier tonight, we had some video from an eyewitness that showed a massive amount of smoke. Our news crew just arrived at this scene again in Georgetown. We'll continue to gather information, and we'll have the latest tonight at 11 and on WKYT.com.